The first time Kang Ji-hoon saw the woman sleeping on the floor of his private office, he thought someone had finally lost their mind. The security system of Hansong Group was considered one of the most advanced in South Korea. Nobody entered the top floor without authorization. Nobody stepped inside his office without an appointment. Nobody, especially a stranger, could appear in the one place even his closest executives feared to enter. But there she was, a woman he had never seen before, sitting against the cold marble wall, holding a small child tightly in her arms as rain poured against the giant glass windows behind her. And the most shocking part was not that she had entered his office. It was the necklace hanging around the child's neck. A silver necklace with a tiny blue stone. A necklace Ji-hoon had not seen in 20 years. A necklace that belonged to his mother. Impossible! The word escaped his lips before he could stop it. The woman slowly opened her eyes. For a moment, she looked confused. Then she saw him standing there. The powerful chairman of Hansong Group. The man whose face appeared on every business magazine in the country. The man people described as cold, emotionless, and impossible to approach. But she did not look afraid. She looked exhausted. "You are Kang Ji-hoon?" she whispered. Ji-hoon's expression hardened. "Who are you?" The woman slowly stood up, protecting the child behind her. "My name is Seo Ha-rin." She paused. "And this is my daughter, Seo Min-ah." Ji-hoon looked at the little girl. She was about 6 years old. She had her mother's tired eyes and a small scar near her eyebrow. But it was not her appearance that caught his attention. It was the necklace. "Where did you get that?" Ha-rin touched the necklace instinctively. "It belonged to my mother." Ji-hoon stepped closer. "Your mother?" His voice became colder. "What was her name?" Ha-rin hesitated. That hesitation told him everything. She knew exactly why he was asking. Her name was Lee Soo-yeon. The entire room seemed to freeze. Ji-hoon stopped moving. Lee Soo-yeon, a name he had not heard spoken in 20 years. A name buried with the most painful memory of his life. His mother's assistant. His mother's closest friend. The woman everyone said disappeared after the accident that killed his family. "That is impossible," Ji-hoon said quietly. Ha-rin looked at him. "I knew you would say that." She reached into her bag and removed an old envelope. "She told me you would not believe me unless I showed you this." Ji-hoon stared at the envelope. The handwriting on the front made his heart stop. Kang Ji-hoon, his mother's handwriting. The same handwriting he remembered from childhood birthday cards. The same handwriting that disappeared the night she died. His fingers tightened. "Where did you get this?" Ha-rin looked at him sadly. "My mother gave it to me before she died." Ji-hoon took the envelope but did not open it. Too many questions were rushing through his mind. Why did Soo-yeon have a letter for him? Why did she give it to this woman? Why did this child carry his mother's necklace? And why had this woman appeared after 20 years? "You need to leave." Ha-rin looked surprised. "What? You heard me." His voice returned to its usual coldness. "Take your daughter and leave this building." The child looked up at him. "Are you angry with us?" Ji-hoon froze. He was not prepared for the question. The little girl was looking at him with innocent eyes. Not fear, not anger, just curiosity. He looked away. "No." The child tilted her head. "Then why do you look sad?" The question hit harder than any accusation. Ji-hoon said nothing. Because nobody had asked him that in years. Nobody looked past the chairman. Nobody saw the man beneath the title. Ha-rin noticed his reaction. She is honest. Ji-hoon looked at her. Children usually are. Before Ha-rin could answer, the office door opened. His secretary, Park Yoon-chae, rushed inside. "Chairman Kang, I'm sorry. Security tried to stop me, but..." She stopped when she saw Ha-rin. Her face changed instantly. Not surprise. Fear, Ji-hoon noticed. "You know her?" Yoon-chae looked away. "No. Too quick. Too nervous." Ji-hoon immediately understood she was lying. "Everyone leave." Yoon-chae looked at him. "Chairman, now." Minutes later, the office was empty, except for Ji-hoon and Ha-rin. He placed the envelope on the desk. "Start talking." Ha-rin remained silent. "You came into my office with my mother's necklace, my mother's letter, and a child. You expected questions." She looked at him. I expected anger. Ji-hoon's expression hardened. Good, then you know how serious this is. Ha-rin looked at the child sleeping on the sofa. 20 years ago, your mother discovered something about Hansong Group. Ji-hoon's eyes narrowed. What? Something that could destroy powerful people. Who? Ha-rin looked directly at him. Your father. The answer was impossible. Ji-hoon's father, Kang Dae-sung, had died 15 years ago. He was remembered as a brilliant businessman who built Hansong Group from nothing. He was respected, admired, loved by the public. But Ji-hoon knew another side. A father who rarely showed affection. A man who believed emotions were weaknesses. A man who taught his son one lesson above all others. Never trust anyone completely. Be careful with your words, Ji-hoon said. Ha-rin nodded. I know. She opened her bag and removed another item, a photograph. She placed it on the desk. Ji-hoon looked down. His breathing stopped. The picture showed his mother standing beside Lee Soo-yeon. Behind them was his father. But there was someone else in the picture. A young woman holding a baby. The baby was wearing the same silver necklace. Ji-hoon looked closer. The woman holding the baby was Ha-rin, but she looked much younger. Where was this taken? He asked. The night your life changed. Ji-hoon looked up. What are you saying? Ha-rin's voice became quiet. Your family did not lose everything because of an accident. A pause. Your family was destroyed because someone wanted a secret buried. The rain outside became heavier. Ji-hoon stared at the photograph. His entire life had been built on one painful memory. 20 years ago, his mother died in a car accident. His father changed afterward. The family broke apart. Ji-hoon took control of Hansong Group at a young age and spent every day proving he could survive. But now a stranger was standing in front of him, saying everything he believed was a lie. Why come to me now? He asked. Ha-rin looked down at her daughter. Because they found us. Ji-hoon's expression changed. Who? Before she could answer, every light in the office suddenly turned off. The emergency lights came on seconds later. Ji-hoon immediately moved toward the window. Across the street, on top of a nearby building, a red laser dot appeared on the glass. Someone was watching them. Ha-rin grabbed her daughter. They know I am here. Ji-hoon looked at her. Who are they? Ha-rin whispered the words that changed everything. The people who killed your mother. A second later, the glass window cracked. Ji-hoon pulled Ha-rin and the child down, just before the bullet shattered the window behind them. The sound echoed through the office. For the first time in 20 years, Kang Ji-hoon felt something he thought he had buried forever. Fear. Not for himself, for someone else. He looked at Ha-rin and the child beside her. The necklace, the letter, the photograph. Everything was connected, and whoever was trying to silence her had just confirmed one thing. The truth about his mother's death was still alive, and now it had found him. The sound of the shattered glass continued to echo through Kang Ji-hoon's mind, even after the security team rushed into the office. For years, he believed nothing could surprise him anymore. He had survived boardroom wars, betrayal from business partners, and enemies who wanted to take everything his family built. But he had never expected someone to bring the past back to his doorstep, carrying his mother's necklace and a child who looked at him like he was not a stranger. Chairman Kang, are you injured? One of the security officers asked. Ji-hoon ignored the question. His eyes remained fixed on Ha-rin and the little girl. Get every exit secured. The security team immediately moved. Find the shooter. His voice was calm, but everyone in the room knew that calmness was dangerous. It was the same tone he used before destroying companies that tried to challenge Hansong Group. Ha-rin watched him carefully. You believe me now? Ji-hoon turned toward her. I believe someone wanted you dead. A pause. That does not mean I believe your story. Ha-rin nodded slowly. Fair enough. The answer surprised him. He expected fear. He expected pleading. Instead, she accepted his suspicion. That made him more curious. People who lied usually tried too hard to convince others. Ha-rin looked like someone who had spent years carrying a truth nobody wanted to hear. Where is your daughter? Ji-hoon asked. Ha-rin looked toward the sofa. The little girl was still there, holding on to the edge of her coat. She was trying to act brave, but her hands were shaking. Ji-hoon noticed. He had seen that expression before. He saw it in himself when he was young, a child trying to pretend they were not afraid because they knew nobody else would protect them. Min-ah, Ha-rin called softly. The girl looked up. Come here. Slowly, she walked toward her mother. Ji-hoon watched them. There was something about their relationship that felt familiar. The way Ha-rin protected her. The way the child trusted her. The way they stood together even when the entire world seemed against them. He remembered his own mother doing the same thing. Before everything changed, take them to the private residence. Everyone stopped. His security chief looked surprised. Chairman? Ji-hoon looked at him. Did I speak unclearly? No, sir. The officer immediately nodded. Ha-rin looked at him. Why are you helping us? Ji-hoon looked away. I'm not helping you. His voice was cold. I'm protecting my own questions. She understood. He was not ready to trust her, but he was also not willing to ignore the danger surrounding her. As they left the office, Ji-hoon remained behind. He walked toward the broken window and looked at the city below. Seoul had always looked beautiful from his office. Millions of lights, millions of people, a world that seemed organized and predictable. But he knew better. Behind every building, every company, every powerful family, there were secrets. And his family's secret had just returned. Chairman. Park Eun-chae's voice came from behind him. Ji-hoon turned slowly. She was standing near the door. You lied earlier. Eun-chae lowered her eyes. I was surprised. That was not what I asked. Silence. Ji-hoon walked closer. You know Ha-rin. Eun-chae hesitated. Yes. How? She took a deep breath. Because your mother asked me to find her 20 years ago. Ji-hoon froze. Another secret. Another person who knew more than him. Explain. Eun-chae looked nervous for the first time since working for him. After the accident, your mother left instructions. My mother was dead. Yes. Eun-chae nodded. But she prepared everything before that happened. Ji-hoon stared at her. What instructions? Eun-chae looked around before answering. She told me that if anything happened to her, I had to protect two things. What two things? Eun-chae looked at him. You. A pause. And the truth. Ji-hoon's expression changed. Why didn't you tell me? Eun-chae looked away. Because your father found out. The room became silent. What did he do? Ji-hoon asked. Eun-chae's voice became quieter. He warned me that if I ever mentioned Soo-yeon's name or the night of the accident, people would suffer. Ji-hoon clenched his fist. His father. Again. Every path led back to the same person. The man who raised him. The man who taught him power. The man who seemed to be connected to every secret. Where is the evidence? He asked. Eun-chae looked surprised. Evidence? My mother left something. You said she prepared everything. Eun-chae hesitated. There was a storage box. Where? I don't know. Ji-hoon's eyes narrowed. You don't know. Your mother gave the location to someone else. Who? Eun-chae looked toward the hallway where Ha-rin had disappeared. Lee Soo-yeon. Ji-hoon immediately understood. The necklace. The letter. Ha-rin's mother. The missing piece. Then Ha-rin knows. Eun-chae shook her head. No. How do you know? Because Soo-yeon trusted only one person with the location. Ji-hoon looked at her. Who? Eun-chae answered softly. You. That night Ji-hoon could not sleep. He sat alone in his father's old study, a place he rarely entered. Too many memories existed inside these walls. His father's books, his father's desk, his father's photographs. Everything remained exactly the same, almost like the man had never left. Ji-hoon opened the drawer beneath the desk. He did not know why he did it. Maybe instinct, maybe something deeper. Inside was an old notebook. His father's handwriting covered the pages. He turned through them quickly. Business records, meeting notes, names. Then he saw something that made him stop. Lee Soo-yeon, his father's handwriting next to her name. She knows about the child. Ji-hoon's heart started beating faster. He continued reading. Soo-yeon cannot be trusted. If Ji-hoon discovers the truth, he will destroy everything. Ji-hoon closed his eyes. His father had known. He had known about Ha-rin. He had known about the child. But why? Why would he hide this from his own son? Suddenly, another sentence caught his attention. The necklace must never return to Ji-hoon. Ji-hoon stared at the words. The necklace. His mother's necklace. The same necklace hanging around Min-ah's neck. His father was afraid of that necklace. A sound came from outside the study. Ji-hoon immediately closed the notebook. He reached the door and opened it. Nobody was there, but on the floor was a small envelope. No name, no message, just one symbol. The same symbol his father had drawn beside Soo-yeon's name. Ji-hoon opened it carefully. Inside was a photograph. It showed his mother holding a baby, but this time there was no Ha-rin, no Soo-yeon, no explanation, only his mother, holding a child, and standing beside her was Ji-hoon himself. As a child, he stared at the picture. He had no memory of that day, no memory of the baby, no memory of his mother looking so afraid. On the back of the photograph were 7 words. Your mother did not die alone that night. Ji-hoon felt the world shift beneath him. His mother had not been the only victim. Someone else was there, someone connected to him, someone who had been hidden for 20 years. And in the private residence downstairs, the little girl wearing his mother's necklace opened her eyes and whispered something that made Ha-rin freeze. Mommy. Ha-rin looked at her. What happened? The child looked toward the ceiling. That man upstairs. She paused. I saw him before. Ha-rin's face changed. Who? The little girl answered quietly. The man in Grandma's picture. Ha-rin stopped breathing, because she knew exactly who Min-ah meant. Kang Ji-hoon, the man who believed he had never met her, the man who had just discovered the biggest secret of his life, and the man who was about to learn that the child standing beneath his roof was connected to him in a way neither of them expected. Kang Ji-hoon stood inside the old family house, staring at the recording device that had just played his mother's voice after 20 years of silence. He had imagined this moment many times. He imagined discovering the truth about her death. He imagined finding the person responsible. He imagined finally understanding why his family was destroyed. But he never imagined hearing his mother's voice again. The voice he had spent years trying to forget, because remembering it hurt too much. The child you were told never existed. The words repeated inside his mind. Ji-hoon looked at Ha-rin, waiting for an explanation, but she looked just as shocked as he was. You didn't know? He asked. Ha-rin slowly shook her head. No. Her voice was quiet. I swear I didn't. Ji-hoon studied her expression carefully. He had spent his entire life learning how to read people, executives, investors, enemies. Everyone who wanted something from him had a hidden motive. But Ha-rin was different. She looked like someone whose entire reality had just collapsed. Then why did you come here? Ji-hoon asked. Ha-rin looked at the photograph in his hand. Because my mother told me one day I had to return this necklace to its owner. Ji-hoon looked down at the silver necklace. She never told you why? Ha-rin shook her head. She said some truths were too dangerous for children to carry. Ji-hoon looked around the old room. Everything suddenly felt like a carefully designed puzzle. His mother, his father, Ha-rin, the necklace, the hidden room, the child mentioned in the recording. Someone had spent 20 years making sure he never found the truth. The question was why. Suddenly, a sound came from outside the room. Footsteps. Ji-hoon immediately moved in front of Ha-rin. Stay behind me. Ha-rin looked at him. You don't even trust me. No. He looked toward the door. But someone is trying to hurt you. The door slowly opened. Ji-hoon prepared himself, but instead of an enemy, an elderly man appeared. Someone Ji-hoon recognized immediately. Mr. Choi? The old man looked at him sadly. You finally came back. Ji-hoon lowered his guard slightly. Choi Min-suk had been his father's personal assistant for more than 30 years. He was one of the few people who knew everything about the Kang family. You knew about this room? Ji-hoon asked. The old man nodded. Your father asked me to protect it. Ji-hoon's expression changed. Protect it from who? Mr. Choi looked at him. From you. The answer angered him. Why would he need to protect something from his own son? Mr. Choi sighed. Because he knew you would not stop once you started searching. Ji-hoon stepped closer. Everyone keeps saying my father was protecting me. Nobody explains what he was protecting me from. The old man looked at Ha-rin, then at the necklace. Because your father was protecting you from becoming like him. Ji-hoon froze. What does that mean? Mr. Choi walked toward the desk and touched the old photograph. Your father spent his life chasing power because he believed power could prevent pain. He looked at Ji-hoon. Then, he lost the person he loved most. Ji-hoon looked down. His mother. After that, he realized too late that power cannot protect everyone. Ha-rin quietly asked, "What happened to the child?" Mr. Choi became silent. Ji-hoon noticed immediately. "You know." The old man closed his eyes. "Yes." "Who was it?" Mr. Choi looked at him. "Someone your mother loved like her own." Ji-hoon's heart tightened. "Answer me." Mr. Choi hesitated. "The child was the reason your mother and father started fighting." "Why?" "Because your mother wanted to protect the child. Your father wanted to hide the child." Ji-hoon looked at Ha-rin. "Why?" Mr. Choi looked at the necklace. "Because that child was connected to the accident." The room became silent. "What are you saying?" Ji-hoon asked. Mr. Choi looked at him. "Your mother did not die because of a random accident." He paused. "She died because she found out someone inside your family was responsible." Ha-rin covered her mouth. Ji-hoon felt anger rising inside him. 20 years. 20 years believing his mother was simply unlucky. 20 years believing fate took her away. "Who?" he asked. "Who was responsible?" Mr. Choi looked away. "Your father never found out completely." Ji-hoon froze. "What?" "He spent years searching, but the person behind it covered every trace." Ji-hoon looked at the documents on the desk. "Then why hide the child?" Mr. Choi answered quietly. "Because the child was the only witness." Everything stopped. The necklace, the photograph, the recording. It all connected. Ha-rin looked at him. "My daughter." Ji-hoon looked toward her. "Mina?" Ha-rin nodded slowly. "She remembers things from that night." Ji-hoon's expression changed. "How?" Ha-rin looked terrified. "Because she was there." The words hit him like a shockwave. The child his mother protected. The child connected to the accident. The child wearing his mother's necklace. It was not a coincidence. Min-ah was not just part of the secret, she was the key to it. Before Ji-hoon could ask another question, his phone rang. The number was unknown. He answered immediately. "Who are you?" A calm voice replied. "You opened the room." Ji-hoon's eyes narrowed. "Who is this?" "Someone who warned your father 20 years ago." Ji-hoon gripped the phone. "What do you want?" The voice became colder. "I want you to stop searching." Ji-hoon looked at Ha-rin. "Or what?" A pause. "Or your mother will not be the only person you lose." The call ended. Ji-hoon stared at the phone. For the first time in 20 years, someone had threatened him with something he actually cared about. Not his company, not his reputation, not his wealth, his family. He turned toward Ha-rin. "We leave now." She looked at him. "Where?" Ji-hoon picked up the photograph and the recording device. "Somewhere they cannot reach us." But deep inside, he knew running was not the answer. The truth had already found him. And whoever spent 20 years hiding it was now desperate because Kang Ji-hoon was finally close to discovering the one secret that could destroy the entire Kang family. The secret of the child his mother died protecting. Kang Ji-hoon had spent his entire life believing that the strongest person was the one who could stand alone. That was the lesson his father taught him. Never depend on anyone. Never show weakness. Never let anyone know what you truly care about. Because the moment someone knows what you love, they can use it against you. But now, sitting inside the private vehicle heading away from the old family house, Ji-hoon realized something he had never admitted before. His father was wrong. The people you love are not always your weakness. Sometimes they are the reason you keep fighting. Ha-rin sat quietly beside him, holding Min-ah close while the little girl slept. For the first time since they met, Ji-hoon saw how exhausted she really was. She had spent years carrying a secret she did not understand. She had spent years running from a danger she could not see. And somehow, she still managed to create a safe world for her daughter. "How long have you known?" Ji-hoon asked. Ha-rin looked at him. Known what? That someone was watching you. She was silent for a moment. Since I was young, Ji-hoon frowned. Explain. Ha-rin looked out the window at the passing city lights. After my mother died, I found a box she left for me. Inside was the necklace, a few letters, and one instruction. What instruction? If anyone from the Kang family ever came looking for me, I had to trust them only if they knew the name Lee Soo-yeon. Ji-hoon looked at her. Why? Because she believed only someone connected to your mother would know that name. He looked down. My mother trusted your mother. Ha-rin nodded. More than anyone. Ji-hoon was quiet. There was a strange pain in hearing that. For years, he thought his mother belonged only to him, but now he was discovering another side of her. A side that helped people, a side that carried secrets, a side that sacrificed herself for someone else. Why didn't your mother tell you everything? He asked. Ha-rin smiled sadly. Because she wanted me to have a normal life. Ji-hoon looked at her. And did you? Ha-rin looked at her daughter sleeping peacefully. I tried. Her answer was simple, but he understood the weight behind it. She was not someone who wanted power. She was not someone chasing the Kang family's wealth. She was just a mother trying to protect her child. Hours later, they arrived at a private apartment owned by Hansong Group. It was one of Ji-hoon's hidden properties. Almost nobody knew about it. It was the perfect place to disappear temporarily. His security team checked the location before allowing them inside. Once they were alone, Ji-hoon placed the recording device on the table. We need to hear it again. Ha-rin looked nervous. Are you sure? No, he answered honestly, but I need to know. He pressed play. His mother's voice filled the room again. Ji-hoon, if you are hearing this, then I am no longer there to explain everything myself. A pause. I know you will be angry. I know you will feel betrayed. But please remember one thing. Everything I did was because I loved you. Ji-hoon closed his eyes. The words hurt more than he expected. There is a child connected to our family. A child who carries a truth that powerful people would kill to hide. Ha-rin looked at Min-ah. The recording continued. Your father will try to protect you in the only way he knows how. He will hide things. He will push people away. He will become someone you do not recognize. Ji-hoon lowered his head. Because that was exactly what happened. But your father is not your enemy. His eyes opened. He is a man who made mistakes because he was afraid. Silence followed. Then his mother's voice became emotional. The person you should fear is the one who convinced your father that control was more important than love. The recording stopped. Ji-hoon immediately looked at Ha-rin. Someone influenced my father. She nodded slowly. Who? Before she could answer, the apartment lights flickered. Ji-hoon stood immediately. Stay here. Ha-rin grabbed his arm. Don't go alone. He looked at her hand holding his arm. A small gesture, but something about it stopped him. Nobody had touched him like that in years. Not because they wanted something, not because they feared him, because they were worried about him. I will come back, he said quietly. Ha-rin released him. Ji-hoon moved through the apartment carefully. His security system showed no movement, no forced entry, nothing unusual. Then he reached the living room. A man was sitting there, waiting. Ji-hoon immediately recognized him. Director Han. The older man looked up calmly. You found the recording. Ji-hoon's expression became cold. You broke into my home. I needed to speak with you. Then you should have called. Han smiled bitterly. Would you have answered? Ji-hoon said nothing, because he knew the answer. You know about my mother. Han looked down. Yes. You know about the child. Another silence. Yes. Ji-hoon stepped closer. Then tell me the truth. Han looked at him. The truth is your family was never destroyed by enemies outside. He paused. It was destroyed because the people closest to you were afraid. Ji-hoon's eyes narrowed. My father? Han shook his head. Not only him. Then who? Han looked toward the room where Ha-rin and Min-ah were staying. The person who knows the truth about Min-ah. Ji-hoon froze. What does that mean? Han stood slowly. It means the woman who raised that child does not know everything. Ji-hoon's expression changed. Explain. Han reached into his coat and placed an old document on the table. Read this. Ji-hoon opened it. His face changed instantly. It was a birth record, but the name of the father had been removed. The mother was listed as Lee Soo-yeon, not Ha-rin, not another woman. Lee Soo-yeon. Ji-hoon looked up slowly. What is this? Han answered quietly. The reason your mother died. The room became silent. Ji-hoon looked back at the document. 1,000 thoughts rushed through his mind. If Soo-yeon was the mother listed on the record, then who was Ha-rin? Why did she have the necklace? Why did she believe she was protecting someone else's child? Before he could ask, Han spoke again. Your mother had one final request before she died. Ji-hoon looked at him. What? Han's voice became low. She asked me to make sure her daughter survived. Ji-hoon froze. Her daughter? Han nodded. Yes. A pause. The child everyone thought disappeared. Ji-hoon slowly turned toward the room where Ha-rin and Min-ah were waiting. Suddenly the truth became more complicated. The child his mother protected. The child wearing her necklace. The child connected to his family. Was not just a secret. She was the missing piece of a family tragedy that began 20 years ago. And the biggest question remained unanswered. If Min-ah was not Ha-rin's daughter by blood, then whose daughter was she? And why had Ha-rin spent her entire life protecting her? The document remained in Kang Ji-hoon's hand, but his mind had already moved far beyond the words written on the paper. Lee Soo-yeon, his mother's trusted friend, the woman who disappeared after the accident, the woman connected to the necklace, the woman listed as the mother of the child everyone had been trying to hide. Nothing made sense. You are lying. Ji-hoon's voice was calm, but the anger beneath it was impossible to hide. Director Han looked at him quietly. I expected you to say that. Then explain. Han took a breath. Your mother was not just protecting a child. She was protecting a future. Ji-hoon stared at him. Stop speaking in riddles. Han nodded. 20 years ago, Hansong Group was not the only thing your family controlled. Your father had access to information that powerful people wanted buried. The child? Han nodded. The child was the only evidence that could expose them. Ji-hoon looked toward the room, where Ha-rin and Min-ah were waiting. Then why did Ha-rin raise her? Han's expression changed slightly. Because Ha-rin was the only person your mother trusted enough. Ji-hoon frowned. You said Min-ah was not Ha-rin's daughter. She isn't. The answer was immediate. Then whose daughter is she? Han remained silent. Ji-hoon stepped closer. Answer me. Before Han could respond, Ha-rin appeared at the doorway. She had heard everything. Her face was pale. Tell him. Ji-hoon turned. Ha-rin. She looked at Han. Tell him the truth. Han looked at her sadly. You deserve to hear it from her. Ha-rin walked slowly into the room. She looked at Min-ah, who was still sleeping peacefully. Then she looked at Ji-hoon. Min-ah is not my biological daughter. The words were quiet, but they changed everything. Ji-hoon stared at her. Then who is she? Ha-rin swallowed. Your mother gave her to me. Silence. What? Ha-rin looked down. The night before the accident, your mother came to my house. She was scared. She was carrying a baby. Ji-hoon felt his heart stop. A baby? Ha-rin nodded. She told me if anything happened to her, I had to protect the child. Ji-hoon looked at Min-ah. How old was she? A few months old. He stepped back. And you raised her? Ha-rin nodded. Yes. Why didn't you tell me? Ha-rin looked at him with tears in her eyes. Because I didn't know you existed in her story. Ji-hoon froze. What? Your mother never told me everything. She only told me that the child was connected to someone powerful, someone who would be destroyed if the truth came out. Ji-hoon looked at the necklace. Then why bring her to me now? Ha-rin's eyes filled with pain. Because she started remembering. Ji-hoon looked confused. Remembering what? Ha-rin looked at Min-ah. The night your mother died. The room became silent. She was there? Ha-rin nodded. She was too young to understand, but she remembers voices, faces, pieces of that night. Ji-hoon felt anger and sadness collide inside him. A child had carried a memory of his mother's final moments for years. A child who should never have been involved. What did she see? Ha-rin looked afraid. She saw someone she knew. Ji-hoon's expression changed. Who? Ha-rin looked toward the door. The person who came after your mother. Ji-hoon's breathing stopped. Who? Before she could answer, the apartment lights suddenly turned off. Everyone became alert. Ji-hoon moved instantly toward Min-ah. A sound came from the hallway. Someone was inside. Han looked surprised. Impossible. Ji-hoon looked at him. You weren't alone? Han shook his head. No. A shadow moved across the wall. Ji-hoon immediately grabbed a nearby object and prepared himself. The door opened slowly, but instead of an attacker, an elderly woman entered. Ji-hoon froze. He recognized her. Grandmother? Kang Mi-ran, his father's mother. The woman everyone believed had lost her memory after a stroke and disappeared from public life. The woman who had not spoken to anyone in years. She looked directly at Ji-hoon. You finally found her. Ji-hoon stared. Found who? The old woman's eyes moved toward Min-ah. The child your mother died protecting. Nobody spoke. Ji-hoon felt the ground beneath him shift again. You knew? His grandmother nodded. Yes. All this time? Yes. His voice became colder. Everyone knew, except me. His grandmother looked at him sadly. Because your father wanted you to hate him, instead of becoming a target. Ji-hoon laughed bitterly. So that was the plan? Let me believe my entire family abandoned me? She looked away. Your father made many mistakes. A pause. But abandoning you was not one of them. Ji-hoon clenched his fists. Then tell me the truth. His grandmother looked at Min-ah. She is your sister's daughter. Silence. Ji-hoon stared. My sister? His grandmother nodded. The daughter your family erased from history. Ji-hoon felt like he could not breathe. He had never had a sister, at least not one he knew about. I don't have a sister. His grandmother looked at him. Because your father made sure you never knew she existed. The truth hit harder than anything before. His entire life had been surrounded by people who knew more than him. His family, his employees, his enemies. Everyone carried pieces of his story while he lived inside a lie. Where is she? Ji-hoon asked. His grandmother's expression became painful. She died the same night your mother did. Ji-hoon looked at Min-ah. The child sleeping peacefully. The child who carried the last connection to someone he never knew. Then why protect Min-ah? His grandmother answered quietly. Because she was the only thing your sister left behind. Ji-hoon looked at Ha-rin. Suddenly everything made sense. The fear, the running, the necklace, the sacrifice. Ha-rin had not stolen a child. She had saved one. Before anyone could say another word, a loud crash came from outside. Security alarms filled the apartment. Han looked toward the window. His face changed. They found us. Ji-hoon immediately moved toward Min-ah. Who? Han looked at him. The people who started this 20 years ago. Ji-hoon looked around the room. For years, he searched for the person who destroyed his family. He thought the answer would bring peace, but now he understood something. The truth was not the end of the battle. It was the beginning. Because someone had spent 20 years hiding a child, someone had killed his mother, someone had erased his sister's existence, and now they had come back to finish what they started. The sound of the security alarms filled the apartment as Kang Ji-hoon stood between the people he had just discovered were connected to the biggest secret of his life. For 20 years, he thought he understood his family. He thought he knew the people he lost. He thought the pain he carried came from a tragic accident. But now everything had changed. His mother had died protecting a child. His father had hidden the truth. His grandmother had kept the secret. Ha-rin had sacrificed her entire life to protect Min-ah. And somewhere outside, the person responsible was coming to erase the final evidence. How much time? Ji-hoon asked. His security chief answered through the communication device. Less than 5 minutes. They disabled 2 of our security points already. Ji-hoon's eyes narrowed. Nobody could do that unless they knew the system, unless they had someone inside. Again, the same thought returned. Someone close, someone trusted, someone who knew his family's secrets. He looked at Director Han. Who has access? Han understood immediately. Only people who worked with your father. Ji-hoon looked at him. Including you? Han did not avoid the question. Yes. The honesty surprised him. Most people would have defended themselves. Han simply accepted the suspicion. Then why should I trust you? Ji-hoon asked. Han looked at Min-ah. Because if I wanted her gone, she would not still be alive. Ji-hoon remained silent. It was not an answer he wanted to hear, but it was the truth. Suddenly, a loud impact came from the hallway. Someone had reached the outer door. Ha-rin immediately held Min-ah closer. The little girl woke up, confused by the noise. Mommy? Ha-rin forced a smile. It's okay, but Ji-hoon saw the fear in her eyes. She was afraid, not for herself, for her daughter, and that reminded him of his mother. The same fear, the same determination, the same willingness to sacrifice everything for someone else. Take them through the back exit, Ji-hoon ordered. Ha-rin looked at him. What about you? I will handle this. She shook her head. No. Ji-hoon looked at her. No? You always say that. Her voice became emotional. You always think protecting people means standing alone in front of danger. The words stopped him. She continued. That is what your father did. That is what your mother did. Look where it brought them. Ji-hoon stared at her. For a moment, he saw the truth in her words. His family had spent generations trying to protect each other by carrying every burden alone, and every time, it destroyed them. He looked at Min-ah. The little girl was watching him silently. Are you leaving again? She asked. The question hit him harder than anything else, because he understood what she meant. She had already lost people. She feared losing another. Ji-hoon slowly shook his head. No. He knelt down. I'm not leaving. Min-ah looked at him carefully. Promise? He hesitated. Promises had always been dangerous. His mother made him promise to keep his heart warm. He failed. His father promised to protect him. He failed, but this time was different. I promise. The door exploded open. Security rushed forward. The attack began. Ji-hoon moved with his team, protecting the people behind him. The attackers were not random criminals. They were professionals. They knew exactly where to move, exactly where the cameras were, exactly how to avoid detection. Someone had trained them, someone had prepared them. After several minutes, the attackers retreated, but one person remained behind. A man wearing a dark coat stood in the damaged hallway. Ji-hoon immediately recognized him. Kang Seung-won. Everyone froze. Seung-won, his father's younger brother, his uncle, the man who had disappeared overseas 15 years ago, the man who was supposed to have no connection to Hansung Group anymore. Ji-hoon stared at him. You, Seung-won smiled. You look exactly like your father. Ji-hoon's expression turned cold. You came here for Min-ah. His uncle looked toward the child. I came here for what belongs to the Kang family. Ha-rin stepped protectively in front of Min-ah. She is not an object. Seung-won smiled. You still don't understand. He looked at Ji-hoon. Your family was never about love. It was always about legacy. Ji-hoon walked forward. You killed my mother. Seung-won laughed softly. No. The answer surprised everyone. I didn't kill her. He looked at Ji-hoon. I simply gave your father a choice. Ji-hoon's eyes hardened. What choice? Seung-won looked around the room. Choose the company or choose the truth. Silence followed. Your father chose wrong. Ji-hoon stepped closer. Explain. Seung-won smiled. Your mother discovered that your father was hiding the existence of your sister. Ji-hoon looked at him. Why? Because your sister was the true heir. The room became silent. What? Seung-won continued. Before your father built Hansung Group, there was a legal agreement. The first child born into the Kang family would inherit everything. Ji-hoon looked at Min-ah. My sister's child. Seung-won nodded. Exactly. Ha-rin looked shocked. So this was about money? Seung-won laughed. Money? No. He looked at Ji-hoon. It was about power. Ji-hoon felt anger rising. You destroyed my family because of an inheritance? Seung-won shook his head. Your family destroyed itself because they believed love was more important than power. Ji-hoon stepped closer. And you believe otherwise? Seung-won's expression became cold. I believe powerful families survive because they remove weaknesses. He looked at Min-ah. That child is a weakness. Ji-hoon immediately moved between them. She is my family. The words surprised even him. He had known Min-ah only a short time, but something inside him had already changed. He was no longer protecting a secret, he was protecting a person, a child who had already lost too much. Sung-won looked at him. "You sound like your mother." Ji-hoon's eyes narrowed. "That is the difference between us." "What?" She was right. The room became silent. She understood something you never did. Ji-hoon looked at Min-ah. "Family is not something you control. It is something you protect." Sung-won smiled. "You think that makes you stronger?" Ji-hoon shook his head. "No." A pause. "It makes me different." At that moment, police sirens approached outside. Han looked surprised. "How?" Ji-hoon looked at his phone. "Because I stopped playing by your rules." He had secretly sent the evidence from the hidden room to investigators before arriving. The documents, the recordings, everything. Sung-won's expression changed for the first time. He realized the game was over. But before he was taken away, he looked at Ji-hoon and said one final thing. "You still don't know the whole truth." Ji-hoon stared. "What truth?" Sung-won smiled. "Ask your father. My father is dead." Sung-won looked at him. "Are you sure?" The words created a silence nobody expected. Because for the first time, Ji-hoon wondered if even his father's death was another lie. Months of secrets had finally started to collapse. But one mystery remained. Why had Kang Dae-sung hidden the truth about his daughter? Why had he allowed Ji-hoon to hate him, and what was the final message his father left behind? The answer was waiting in the last recording hidden inside the old family house. A recording only Ji-hoon could hear. A recording that would finally reveal the truth his entire family had died protecting. Kang Ji-hoon returned to the old family house the next morning. For the first time in 20 years, he did not enter the building with anger. He entered with the understanding that every person inside those walls had been carrying a pain he never knew existed. His father, his mother, his grandmother, his sister, even Ha-rin. Everyone had lost something because of a secret that was supposed to protect them. But instead, it separated them. In his hands was the final recording his father left behind. The one Sung-won mentioned, the one nobody else could open. Ji-hoon placed the device on the old wooden desk in his mother's room. His hands were steady, but his heart was not. For years he wanted answers. Now that the truth was finally within reach, he realized answers could hurt more than questions. He pressed play. His father's voice filled the room. "Ji-hoon." He closed his eyes. Hearing his father's voice after all this time felt different. Before, he only remembered anger, disappointment, distance. But now he heard something else. Regret. "If you are listening to this, then you know the truth about your sister and Min-ah." Ji-hoon looked down. "I know you hate me. I know you believe I failed your mother. You have every right to feel that way." A pause followed. "But there is something you never knew." Ji-hoon listened carefully. "The night your mother died, she was not running away. She was trying to protect Min-ah." His breathing slowed. "Your sister discovered what my brother was planning. She discovered that Sung-won wanted control of Hansong Group and was willing to destroy anyone who stood in his way." The recording continued. "Your mother wanted to expose him. She wanted to reveal everything. But I was afraid." Ji-hoon looked down. "I thought I could control the situation. I thought I could protect everyone by hiding the truth." His father's voice became heavier. "I was wrong." Silence filled the room. "The accident that killed your mother was not an accident. Sung-won arranged it. But your mother knew something would happen. Before she left that night, she prepared everything." Ji-hoon felt tears forming in his eyes. "She gave Min-ah to Ha-rin because she trusted her. She knew Ha-rin would protect her when nobody else could." A pause. "And she asked me to protect you." Ji-hoon froze. "But I failed." The words were quiet. "I protected the company. I protected the family name. I protected the image everyone saw." His father's voice cracked slightly. "But I failed to protect my son." Ji-hoon looked away. For 20 years, he believed his father did not love him. But the truth was worse. His father loved him and still made choices that hurt him. Ji-hoon, if you are hearing this, I want you to understand one thing. You were never my weakness. A pause. You were the only reason I kept fighting. The recording ended. Ji-hoon sat alone in the room for a long time. He expected anger, he expected hatred, but what he felt was something he had forgotten how to feel: grief. Not the grief of losing his father, the grief of realizing he had spent 20 years hating someone who was also broken. Later that day, Ji-hoon returned to the apartment. Ha-rin was sitting with Min-ah near the window. The little girl was drawing. When she saw him, she smiled. "You came back." Ji-hoon nodded. "I promised." Min-ah smiled proudly. "You keep promises now." The simple sentence made him smile slightly. Ha-rin noticed. It was the first real smile she had seen from him. "You found the truth?" she asked. Ji-hoon looked at her. "Yes." "Was it what you expected?" He shook his head. "No." A pause. It was more painful. Ha-rin understood. Some truths did not bring happiness. They only brought understanding. "What happens now?" she asked. Ji-hoon looked at Min-ah. The child who changed everything. The child who entered his life, carrying the last piece of his family. Now she gets the life she should have had. Ha-rin looked surprised. "What do you mean?" "No more hiding, no more running, no more living afraid." He looked at her. "Both of you." Ha-rin became quiet. "Ji-hoon, you protected my family for 20 years. He paused. "I spent years thinking I had lost my family. I was wrong. I just didn't know where to find them." Tears appeared in Ha-rin's eyes. She quickly looked away. "I didn't do it for a reward." "I know," he answered. "That is why I trust you." Months later, Hansong Group changed completely. The corruption hidden inside the company was exposed. The people responsible faced justice. The old culture built on fear disappeared. Ji-hoon became a different kind of chairman. He was still respected, still powerful. But he was no longer the man who believed emotions were weaknesses. He learned that kindness did not make people weak. It made them human. Ha-rin opened a small design studio using the skills she had developed over the years. She finally built a life that belonged to her, not one controlled by secrets. And Min-ah grew up surrounded by people who loved her. 1 year later, Ji-hoon visited his mother's grave with Ha-rin and Min-ah. He placed flowers down quietly. For years, he came to the grave carrying anger. This time, he came carrying peace. Min-ah stood beside him. "Did Grandma know everything?" she asked. Ji-hoon looked at the grave. "I think she knew more than everyone." "Was she happy?" He smiled softly. "I think she would be happy now." The wind moved gently through the trees. For the first time, Ji-hoon felt like he could breathe. His mother was gone. His father was gone. His sister was gone, but the love they left behind remained. Because family was never about blood alone. It was about the people who choose to stay. Years ago, Kang Ji-hoon believed power was the only thing that could protect him. But he finally learned the truth his mother wanted him to understand. The strongest person is not the one who stands alone. It is the one who has the courage to open their heart again. And sometimes, the person who enters your life carrying a secret is not there to destroy your world. Sometimes, they are the person who finally helps you rebuild it. The end. If you enjoyed this story, remember to like this video, subscribe for more emotional cinematic stories, and share your thoughts in the comments. Tell us one word: family. Because sometimes the greatest discoveries are not about what we lost, but about what we still have left to protect.